Most people check into a hotel looking for rest. In 1893, thousands of travellers arrived in Chicago looking for the future. They found the World's Fair, a white city of lights, wonder and progress. But just blocks away, a different kind of city was being built. A murder castle with soundproof vaults, doors that locked only from the outside, and secret chutes designed to carry human remains to a basement. The man behind it was Dr. H.H. Holmes. He was charming, he was wealthy, and he might have been the most prolific serial killer in American history. But some believe his trail of blood didn't start in Chicago. They believe it began years earlier across the Atlantic in the fog-filled alleys of Whitechapel. Tonight, we aren't just looking at a hotel, we're looking at a machine built for death. We're tracing the life of the monster from his twisted childhood to the gallows and exploring the evidence that America's first serial killer was actually Jack the Ripper. To understand the devil in the White City, we have to leave the heights of Chicago behind and travel back to 1861 to the freezing winters of Gilmanton, New Hampshire. This is where Herman Webster Mudgett was born, a child of strict, cold, and unyielding discipline. His father, Levi Mudgett, was a man of the church and a man of the rod. In the Mudgett household, God was feared and the belt was often used. Levi was a stern disciplinarian who didn't believe in praise, only obedience. On the other side was his mother, Theodate. While she protected him from some of Levi's temper, she was a woman lost in her Bible, emotionally distant and obsessed with the concept of sin. Growing up, Herman was an outcast. He was smaller than the other boys, but far more intelligent. This made him a target for brutal bullying. But while other children sought comfort in friends, Herman sought comfort in the woods. It was here in the shadows of the New Hampshire trees that the first signs of the predator emerged. Herman began catching forest animals, rabbits, squirrels, and stray cats. He didn't just kill them, he began to form surgeries. He was obsessed with the silent mechanics of life and death, fascinated by the way the heart stopped beating and a body became an object. The turning point came when he was forced into a local doctor's office by a group of bullies. They pushed him into a dark room and forced him to stand face to face with a human skeleton. They expected him to scream. They expected him to break. Instead, Herman felt a rush of peace. He later wrote that the sight of the bones didn't terrify him, it empowered him. He realised that the human body was nothing more than a machine of bone and tissue, and if it was just a machine, it could be dismantled. Herman learned early on that to survive his father's house and the bullies at school, he had to wear a mask. He perfected the art of the charming liar by the time he enrolled in medical school at the University of Michigan. He was now a man who saw humans not as people, but as cadavers with bank accounts. Before the castle, there was a con. Holmes was a master manipulator and a multi-state bigamist. He had 3 wives at the same time: Clara Lovering, Myrta Belknap, and Georgiana Yoke, none of whom knew the others existed. He would marry into money, drain the bank accounts, and then vanish. In 1886, Herman Mudgett died, and Dr. Henry Howard Holmes was born. He arrived in Chicago, taking a job at a pharmacy in Englewood. The owner, an elderly widow named Mrs. Holton, soon vanished. Holmes claimed she had moved to California. She was never seen again. With the 1893 World's Fair approaching, Holmes bought the lot across from the pharmacy. He began building a massive 3-story hotel. He hired and fired dozens of contractors, ensuring that nobody but himself knew the full terrifying layout of the building. The castle was a psychological labyrinth. The second floor was a maze of 100 rooms. Some hallways led to dead ends. Some doors opened to 50-foot drops into the basement. There was airtight rooms rigged with gas valves, controlled entirely from the panel in Holmes' private office. The lucky guests were gassed in their sleep. The others? They were chased into soundproof vaults, or rooms lined with asbestos to muffle their screams as they were burned alive. But it was the basement that revealed Holmes' true nature. He installed a secret body chute that dropped victims directly from the upper floors to the cellar. Investigators would later find a massive kiln large enough to cremate a body, and pits filled with quicklime, a chemical used to dissolve flesh off of bone. Holmes didn't just kill for fun. He was a businessman. He would bleach the skeletons of his victims and sell them to medical schools for hundreds of dollars each. Now we've reached the most controversial theory in true crime history. In 1888, London was terrorised by Jack the Ripper. 5 women brutally murdered with surgical precision. During this exact window, Holmes' whereabouts were a mystery. Holmes' great-great-grandson, Jeff Mudgett, discovered journals suggesting Holmes was in London during the Ripper killings. Handwriting experts have compared the Dear Boss letters from London to Holmes' own handwriting, finding chilling similarities. Both killers targeted vulnerable populations, both had surgical skill, and both had a deep-seated hatred for their victims. Did Holmes go to London to refine his craft? Did the Whitechapel murders serve as a rehearsal for the horrors he would later build in Chicago? While many historians remain skeptical, the profile of the 2 men is nearly identical. Holmes wasn't caught for the castle murders. He was caught after the botched insurance scam involving his partner, Benjamin Pitzel. After Holmes murdered Pitzel and 3 of his children, the police finally raided the hotel. What they found in the basement, the piles of bones, the blood-stained table, shook the nation. On May 7th, 1896, Holmes was led to the gallows. He was calm, and his only request, to be buried 10 feet deep and encased in concrete, so no one could ever dissect his body. But even in death, the terror didn't stop. A string of mysterious deaths followed those who caught him. The warden died. The investigator fell ill. And the doctor who testified against him died in his sleep. Some say the devil in the White City didn't want to go alone. Every case has a detail that sticks with you. For me, it was about the H.H. Holmes connection with Jack the Ripper. But I want to know, what part of this story shocked you the most? Drop a comment below, and if you found this deep dive interesting, hit that like button to help the channel grow. And and I'll see you in the next video.